Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Patterson and welcome to my channel, Corruption, Tax Fraud, and Ethics. Today we're taking a closer look at how crimes, taxes, and ethics intersect in the real world using a powerful public corruption case, the U.S. versus Fumo, to guide our discussion. So when people think about white-collar crimes, they often imagine complicated schemes or financial loopholes. But sometimes the issue is much simpler. Power without accountability. One of the clearest examples of this is the case of former Pennsylvania State Senator Vincent Fumo, a case that sits right at the intersection of crime, tax law, and ethics. So let's just do a little brief overview of this case. So Vincent Fumo served nearly 3 decades in the Pennsylvania State Senate and held enormous political influence. Over time, federal investigators uncovered that he was using public resources and nonprofit funds to support his personal lifestyle and political interests. That's nothing new. Prosecutors showed that Fumo directed state-paid employees to perform personal errands, misused funds from a nonprofit organization called Citizens Alliance for Better Neighborhoods, and disguised personal and political expenses as charitable activities. When the investigation began closing in, Fumo and his aides deleted emails and even destroyed electronic records, actions that ultimately led to obstruction of justice charges. So if we were to analyze the crime from a criminal law standpoint, this case is a strong example of how public corruption cases are built. The government didn't rely on one bad decision. It demonstrated a sustained pattern of deception. Fraud charges were based on false representations about how money was used. Obstruction of justice stemmed from intentional efforts to destroy evidence once the investigation was underway. So what mattered most here was his intent. The court emphasized that Fumo's repeated efforts to conceal his actions showed willfulness, which is a critical element in federal criminal cases. So you willfully are trying to hide all of your misrepresentations or your misdeeds. So let's talk about the tax law connection. How is this connected, right? So the tax component of this case is especially important. Misusing funds is one issue, but how those funds are reported to the IRS is another. Fumo and his aide misclassified personal and political expenses as charitable or business related, which resulted in multiple tax evasion charges. This highlights a broader point about financial crimes. Tax violations often function as the paper trail of unethical conduct. So when money is misused, false deductions and inaccurate filings tend to follow. In this case, tax fraud became one of the strongest tools prosecutors use to prove the scope of the wrongdoing. So let's break down some of the ethics. Ethically, the Fumo case represents a fundamental breach of public trust. As a public official, Fumo was bound by Pennsylvania Public Employee Ethics Act, which prohibits using public office for private gain. So what's interesting here is how ethics law played a role in the trial. Ethics violations alone don't always result in criminal charges, but here they helped establish the intent. So they provided context. The jury could see that Fumo knew the rules and knowingly violated them. So in that way, ethics law became a lens through which criminal intent was clearly understood. So what are some closing takeaways here? Well, the takeaway from the Fumo case is straightforward but powerful. Crimes involving public officials rarely exist in isolation. Ethical failures often lead to financial misconduct, which then shows up as tax fraud and obstruction. This case reminds us that ethics are not just abstract principles, they are practical safeguards. So when those safeguards fail, the legal consequences can be severe. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you being a part of this conversation. I'll see you next time on the next case. Bye-bye.